Good morning, everyone. My name is Stenfeldt, CEO and co-founder of MedTrace, and I'm going to take you into a little bit of journey to nuclear medicine. So at MedTrace, we help doctors diagnose heart patients 50% more accurately and 4 times faster than today's clinical workhorse, which is SPECT imaging. And we do this with a tracer called 15-0 water. Tracers are used by doctors to follow the flow of blood in the human body, and that's of interest to doctors because all major diseases are affected by the blood flow. Now, our case is about quantification of blood flow, because when we can start quantifying blood flow, we can start quantifying the disease. That increases accuracy, but it also opens up interesting business opportunities in AI and with machine learning. Now, 15-0 water, or radioactive water, is the only tracer that can truly be quantified. On top of that, it's also the only tracer that can go into any part of the organ looking at any kind of diseases. The company was founded back in 2015 in Denmark, so I apologize for my Danish accent. Where are we today? We have already now, despite we haven't a regulatory approval yet, we have some magistrate exemptions for clinical use in Denmark and Sweden. We have done more than 2,000 patients with our technology. We have 4 commercial contracts. We raised a Series B funding last year of $30 million with a pension fund, European Innovation Council, a private equity fund from Switzerland, and even the Mayo Clinic Foundation injected cash into the company. We have had US operations since 2017 in Minneapolis, and our current staff is 35, will be at least double as many by the end of the year. We estimate to have regulatory approval in Europe by 2023, that's next year, and 2 years from now also in the US. I have a small breaking news, and that is that the FDA this Friday, or last Friday, they gave us green light to go ahead with our phase 3 study. The R&D was approved by the FDA, which we are obviously very happy about. The clinical pain, to go back to where it all started, is cardiovascular diseases. It's the leading cause of death. If you look at this room, approximately a quarter of you will eventually die of heart-related diseases. It's a direct cost burden of the US society of at least $110 billion a year, and then comes all the indirect cost. It's a global problem, and one of the reasons are poor diagnostics. In our field, which is functional testing, the clinical workhorse has or offers less than 60% sensitivity. That means 4 out of 10 patients will not get the right diagnosis. Has a lot of downstream extra cost, has a lot of issues, obviously, for the patient and the family. The reason for this is that all other tracers needs algorithmic corrections to mimic the flow of blood, whereas 15-0 water, which is based on water, which is a major substance of blood, has a one-to-one kinetics and give you the truth. It's also called the truth standard for that reason. There is, however, one drawback, and that is that radioactive water has a half-life of only 2 minutes, so you have to produce it and use it. And the way we come around that is this little pink machine you see in the middle, where it's kind of a point-of-care chemistry system, automated point-of-care hot cell, where when the patient and the PET scanner is ready, it will automatically call on gas, radioactive gas from the nearby cyclotron, and convert it into radioactive water and inject it automatically into the patient. This is where we have the productivity increase, because with the current standards, you will have a scan of 30 minutes, maybe up to 55 minutes. Then you need to wait 5 times the half-life between the 2 scans for rest and stress scan, with today's tracer, that's 6 hours times 5, that's 30 hours. With ours, it's 5 times 2 minutes, so you can let the patient be on the bed. So at least 4 times productivity increase if we look at just the scan time. On top of that, we have a software analysis platform that can analyze the images from the PET scanner. This is how our hot cell looks like when you set up in the morning for a day's production. And making 15-0 water practical available will give you 3 distinct value propositions: accuracy and efficiency, I've already told you about. But on the safety side, the hospital no longer needs to rely on third-party logistics. They can manufacture as many doses they want. And for the patients and the staff, there is 17 times lower radiation. You can barely measure it with 15-0 water. Our business model is a subscription model, so we own the equipment. Hospitals, they sign up for a license agreement to manufacture a number of doses From the European contracts we have signed and the ones we're about to sign, we can see that the trend is going towards more than 5 years of contract period. In the US, with the contemplated prices we are seeing, it's around 1.2 million in recurring revenue on an average hospital every year at a pretty decent profit margin. Our focus is right now on Europe, exploiting the exemption possibilities until regulatory approval. And then the US is our focus. It's the largest single market, one regulatory body. As you heard, we already have the green light to start our phase 3, and we will have a new drug approval, exclusivity, 6 years of exclusivity, adding 3 years for each new indication we can add. There are plenty of new indications in cardiology. Mayo Clinic and Osaka University Hospital in Japan have already started some studies in oncology, and we can do much more in neurology and other types of diseases. Looking back at the market in the US, I said $110 billion is the direct cost. We are in that small niche that when you have had your first line but haven't found out what's wrong, you go to the functional testing in nuclear medicine. Here, the addressable market is around $5 billion. If we zoom down to where we can go in right now, today, it's around $300 million annually that we can say is our serviceable obtainable market. To that, you should know that the growth in the industry on cyclotrons alone is around 10% for the last 15 years. We can add Europe, we can add Asia, we can add oncology, neurology to these numbers. It will grow significantly. Pathway forward, we already secured financing to complete our clinical trial. European sales has started. We will commence enrollment of the phase 3 in next month already. We'll begin the CE marking next year, or not begin, we'll finalize it. Expect to have the new drug approval. We only need 182 patients for our phase 3 trial. And then our current investors have set us up for an IPO based on European-based proof of market, regulatory approval from the US, oncology pathway that has been defined, and also early licensing with big pharma as companion diagnostics. To do all this, we have a stellar team of radiopharma and medical imaging experience from around the world, actually from US, from Europe. We have both industry and clinical experience. I'm here today to see if I can find additional investors. We don't have any US investors right now, but US is our major market. We would very much like to welcome any kind of US investors that could participate in a pre-IPO or maybe even before. And then if I could get some leads for any big pharma introductions as well. Thank you for listening.